Have you ever wondered why some leaders and some companies just feel different? Like they connect on a deeper level. There's this loyalty they inspire that's about so much more than just a product. Well, it turns out there's a pattern to it, a really simple one, and that's what we're going to break down today. See, it really all boils down to two completely different ways to get us to do something. And yeah, both can work in the short term, but only one creates something that actually lasts.
So on one side, you've got manipulation. You know what this looks like. Price drops, special promotions, maybe even using a little fear or peer pressure. And look, it works. It can get you a sale, a click, a vote, but it's expensive, it's stressful, and it builds absolutely zero loyalty. All it creates are transactions, not trust.
Okay, so if manipulating people isn't the way to build something real, then what is? Well, the answer is in this beautifully simple idea. It's called the golden circle. It all starts on the outside, with the most obvious thing, the what. Every single company knows what they do. These are the products they sell or the services they offer. It's concrete, it's easy to explain, and it's where most of us start talking.
Then, if we move one layer in, we get to the how. Some companies know their how. This is their unique selling proposition, their proprietary process. It's all the stuff they think makes them different or better than the next guy. But then, we get to the very center, the core, the why. And this is where it gets interesting, because very, very few people or organizations can clearly articulate why they do what they do. And let me be clear, making a profit is not a why. That's a result.
Your why, this is the whole game. It's your purpose, your cause, your belief. It's the reason you get up in the morning. And most importantly, it's the reason anyone else should care about what you do.
And here is the big reveal. Most of us, we communicate from the outside of the circle inwards. We start with what we do, then we talk about how we do it. But the truly inspiring leaders and companies, they flip it completely. They think, act, and communicate from the inside out. They start with why.
Now, this is where it gets really cool. This whole golden circle idea, it's not just a nice theory or a clever marketing trick. Its power is actually grounded in human biology, in how our brains are literally structured.
Think about it like this. The outside of the circle, the what, that corresponds to our neocortex. That's the part of our brain that's responsible for rational thought and language. But the center of the circle, the why and how, that lines up perfectly with our limbic brain, which is where our feelings, our trust, and all our decision-making comes from. And guess what? That part of the brain has no capacity for language. It's where gut feelings come from.
And this quote just nails it. We make our decisions with our gut, based on what we believe. And then we use the rational language part of our brain to come up with reasons to justify that decision. That's why when a message starts with why, it just feels right. It's speaking directly to the decision maker in our head.
Okay, so if starting with why is how you connect with an individual, what happens when you apply that same logic to a huge group of people? Well, that's how you stop making sales and you start a movement.
To really get this, we need to bring in another idea called the law of diffusion of innovations. It's basically a roadmap for how new ideas spread through society.
So any population is broken down into these 5 groups. On the far left, you've got your innovators and early adopters. These are the people who buy things on a gut feeling. They're comfortable with intuition. Then on the right, you have the majority and the laggards. They're much more pragmatic, much more skeptical.
So here's the million-dollar question for anyone with a new idea. How do you get from those first few believers over to the mainstream? How do you cross that big gap, that chasm between them?
And the answer is so simple and so counterintuitive, you don't. You don't try to cross it. You completely ignore the majority and you focus everything on that first 15 to 18%. You focus on the people who already believe what you believe, because they are the ones who will spread the word and pull the rest of the market over for you. This is how movements happen. Think about it. 250,000 people showed up in Washington, D.C. to hear Dr. King's speech. They didn't get an invitation. They showed up for themselves. They showed up because they believed in the cause, in the why that he so powerfully articulated. But, and this is a big but, once you achieve that success, once everyone knows your name, you run into the single biggest danger of all.
It's something called the split. As an organization gets bigger, the what, the revenue, the metrics, the scale, it gets really easy to measure. So that's what everyone focuses on. And slowly, over time, the why, that original fuzzy, passionate belief that started everything, it starts to fade. The only defense is discipline, constantly talking about and celebrating the why.
You want a perfect cautionary tale? Look at AOL.
Their original why was so powerful. Get America online, empower the individual. They were revolutionaries. But after massive success, that why got fuzzy. And now? An AOL email address is kind of a joke, right? A symbol of being left behind. They lost their why.
Okay, so this all leads to one last really powerful shift in perspective that comes from starting with why. It completely changes the definition of success.
Most of the time, we're obsessed with beating our competition. But what if we're in the wrong race altogether? I heard this story about a high school runner named Ben Komen, who has cerebral palsy. He finishes every race dead last, way after everyone else is gone. But he shows up every single day to compete, not against them, but against himself.
And really, that's the whole point. When you know your why, the competition disappears. Your only competition is who you were yesterday. The goal is just to keep advancing your own cause, to show up every day and be a little bit better, a little more true to your own belief. So I'll just leave you with that one simple question. What is your why? Because if you can answer that for your company, for your career, for your life, everything else just sort of falls into place. You have a compass, and you finally have a reason for others to believe.